you actually care about Shedeur, you should not be out here hyping up OTA team drills. You should just let the process go on, let him develop, understand that, yeah, for every OTAs that he kills, he might have a bad practice here or there. It's not going to be a big deal. But here's the thing. If you say OTAs, like if Shedeur struggles in OTAs and you say it's not a big deal, well, then you can't really say that if you're one of these people posting this shit, right? If you're posting this, what you're also saying is you're giving people permission to judge Shedeur's career based off of OTA practices. You're like, in your excitement, right? Oh, Shedeur had 3 touchdowns and 7 attempts and 9. Oh my God, he's so good. What you're saying there is that, oh yeah, these OTA drills, you have set the precedent that they matter. That's what you did when you actually get excited about stuff like this. This is why I'm not going to get excited about anything like this. Because if Shedeur has a 3 interception, 2 completion day, you know what I'm going to sit on here and say? I don't care. It's OTAs. It doesn't matter. But I can't say that if I'm sitting here acting like this shit right here matters.
Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
We have lost our minds. We are 1 week into this. 1 week into this. And look, this has nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders. I think Shedeur Sanders is from all I could see, seems like a very fun person. Seems very likable. But you know, some things are bigger than yourselves, even when these things claim to be followings of the person in charge, right? We have seen this with Tiger Woods. We have seen this with Caitlin Clark. We have seen this with Johnny Manziel. We have seen this with a number of athletes where the following and the conversation about these athletes becomes much larger than the actual athlete themselves. Even if that athlete is great, even if that athlete is not great, that's usually where this whole thing goes. And it is obvious to me that this is where the Shedeur Sanders thing is going, because Colin Cowherd did a segment reacting to Shedeur Sanders' rookie camp stats. Now look, Colin Cowherd knows he's being ridiculous here, but there's usually a line, man. Let's play the clip. Let's play the clip.
Television audience. It appears in the 4-quarterback derby, despite the fact that Shedeur Sanders had the fewest attempts, he was the most efficient and most productive with the fewest reps. Justin, I've seen enough. I'm calling it a wrap. The Herd newsroom is calling it in Ohio by a landslide. Shedeur Sanders should be starting. We are calling Ohio as the projected winner in a race that is not as close as the fake news projected. You can keep selling me on Pickett. You can keep selling me on Dylan Gabriel. Now, Flacco, I buy. Flacco, I like. He's one of my favorite guys that's ever played in the league. He's like, everybody likes Flacco, and I think he's going to win the starting job initially. I really like Flacco.
So he's not even being serious. he just said in a 1-minute clip, give the job to Shedeur, but I think Joe Flacco's going to win the job. So we see right there, Colin is not being serious right now, right? I mean, I think a lot of people aren't being serious right now. I mean, I think this whole thing is unashamedly unserious. Like, this is we are lacking shame when we post OTA team drill stats on national TV. Now, some of you might be wondering, Quincy, why do you not care about OTA team drill stats? One, these are not reps that we can all see and confirm whether these numbers are true, right? This is what ESPN Cleveland has charted. And by charted, I mean they sent a couple of their interns out. No disrespect to their interns, right? Hard work. I'm not saying that they wasn't working hard, but the fact is that they sent their interns out and they charted down these passes and they gave these numbers out. These aren't the official stats. We don't even know if all of these completions were technically completed, right? Like somebody could have their foot out of bounds, somebody could have bobbled something, not continued, and wouldn't have been called a catch on the field. This is not an institution that is charting these passes, first off. Second off, the reason it's important, and I cannot believe I'm explaining to folks, and not just explaining to folks, people are going to be mad at me because I'm not running away with like, oh my God, let's hype up Shedeur Sanders after this. And look, y'all, I want Shedeur Sanders to be good, but doing this ain't going to help him. That's the main point, and I'm going to talk about that in a second because that's why I think this is actually going to be harmful. And the person it's going to be harmful to is Shedeur Sanders more than anybody. But the reason that it matters that we didn't see these reps is we don't know the context of these reps. He could have gotten 3 touchdowns in red zone drills that were like 7-on-3. You can't run team drills the way you run team drills in training camp in OTAs. So these numbers are pretty meaningless. I don't really care what Kenny Pickett is doing in one practice, what Dylan. We talk about practice. We have become the Allen Iverson meme. We talking about practice. Not the game. Not the game. We sitting here talking about 7 and 9 in practice. We sitting here like, oh my God, the Browns threw 1 interception in practice. This is what we doing. We talking about not even real practice too, by the way. This ain't padded practice. We talking about OTA practice. It's not even practice. This is practicing for practice. We talking about practicing for practice right now. That's what we talking about. That's what we talking about. We talking about practicing for practice. And people out here taking these arguments dead serious. Do you have no shame? Do you have no shame? And here's where this stops being fun to me. It starts to become something where I'm legitimately concerned. Because what's happening right now is that people are putting Shedeur Sanders on a pedestal that he has not even had the opportunity to earn. Now, do I think Shedeur is putting himself on that pedestal? No. Do I think Shedeur is leaning into any of this nonsense around him? No. This has nothing to do with what Shedeur is personally doing or not. And this is why my feelings about this phenomenon have nothing to do with how I feel about Shedeur as a player, and why I'm able to see that what this phenomenon is doing is ultimately only going to be something that harms Shedeur in the long run. Because the more and more people put him on a pedestal, he hasn't even gotten the chance to earn, whether they're doing it in jest or doing it seriously. What builds up in the background of that is a lot of resentment, right? That's what's going to build up, is a lot of resentment. And when that much resentment builds, the second there is an opportunity to tear down Shedeur Sanders, people will take it, and they will take it ruthlessly. I don't know why people are acting like we are not aware of this phenomenon. We watched this happen with Baker Mayfield. We watched this happen with Johnny Manziel. Y'all remember Johnny Manziel? Now, people love to only tell the revisionist part of the story, which is Johnny Manziel played and people in Cleveland gave up on him. And that's partially true. But the truth is that before Johnny Manziel played, people wanted to bench the starting quarterback, Brian Hoyer, who was the starting quarterback of a over 500 Browns team, which was like the third time that happened up to that point, to play Johnny Manziel because they legitimately thought he would make the team better. And then when it was obvious that he wasn't going to make the team better, boy, did people shit on him. Now, Johnny Manziel deserved it. But he's not the only guy that's happened to. I've seen this happen to so many young quarterbacks in Cleveland. We just saw it happen to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. When Dorian Thompson-Robinson got drafted in the 5th round, people put it in their mind that he was going to be the guy that saved us from Deshaun Watson in the Deshaun Watson contract. He was going to be our Jalen Hurts, right? That was what a lot of people were touting Dorian Thompson-Robinson as what he could be potentially. He had a really good OTAs, mini camps, training camp, looked really good in the preseason, and then he got to play. He looked horrible, and people have never let that man forget it. Now, is Dorian Thompson-Robinson, did he undersell being a 5th-round pick? You can make the argument, but I think the backlash on him was much more harsh because people had hyped him up. I remember getting a call, not a call, but having to listen to a caller when I was on Cleveland.com talk about how he is a combination of Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. That same caller, by the way, when Dorian Thompson-Robinson wasn't playing well, was vicious to him. When you put people on pedestals they don't belong on or haven't had the opportunity to earn, all you're doing is setting them up for the first moment they have a struggle for people to shit on them nonstop. And the same people hyping them up right now are going to act confused about why it's happening when they are playing a massive role in the dynamic that's going to create that backlash towards Shedeur. What I want for Shedeur is the best environment for him to grow as a quarterback, because I want the Browns to solve their quarterback problem as soon as possible, as cheap as possible, and go into 2026 offseason not being desperate at the position. That's what I want for the Browns. And I think Shedeur, maybe even Dylan Gabriel, maybe even Kenny Pickett, has a chance to do that. But if he's not in an environment to succeed on the field, which I think he's going to be in an environment to succeed regardless of how fans act from the coaching staff, GM, and everybody else. But if he's not in a position to succeed off the field with the environment that's around him, right, with how fans are talking about him, how his teammates are forced to interact with conversations about Shedeur Sanders. And it's important to remember a lot of this conversation about Shedeur has little to do about Shedeur Sanders. Little to do about him, right? Some of these folks hyping up Shedeur will turn on him and shit on him the most viciously you've ever seen, right? They don't care. Right? Some of the people only care about Shedeur. This ain't got nothing to do with Shedeur, though. This has a lot to do with him being a Sanders family kid. And he plays quarterback, and he's the most famous of those kids. And that's not to say that he hasn't earned the notoriety that he has. He earned some at Colorado, obviously. But the reason Colin Cowherd is talking about mini camp drills is not because Shedeur Sanders was a solid quarterback at Colorado. It is because Shedeur Sanders, his last name is Sanders, and people are going to pay attention, and people are going to make videos about it, and I'm going to react to it. Everybody's going to talk about it on Twitter because he is the son of Deion Sanders. So it's important to remember that. Separate that from how you feel about the actual player. Separate some of the overhyping from what you feel about the actual player. Because, yeah, are they about to overhype him if he does anything good? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to happen, right? But you know what else is going to happen with Shedeur? If he had 3 interceptions to start OTAs, well, that would be on Colin Cowherd too. And Colin Cowherd would be on here talking about, well, this is why he fell in the draft. He's just not good, right? So understand, it's going to go both ways. There's a lot of people who want this dude to succeed, and a lot of people invest in arguments that surround this dude failing. And it's going to swing both ways. That's how the pendulum is going to go. But the only person who's going to be harmed by this is Shedeur, right? Like, I would love if we just talked about him like a normal quarterback. Just give him the normal amount of non-attention we give the quarterbacks at that stage of their career. Because this much attention this early into Shedeur's career means that every success is going to be highlighted, but every failure is going to be highlighted as well. And earlier in your career, you're just supposed to fail more. That's just how this works. He's going to look like a rookie more than a handful of times this season. No matter how great you think Shedeur can be over time, that does not mean it's guaranteed to happen this year. He's going to look like a rookie. He's going to look like a rookie first time they pad up, probably. He might look like a rookie in the preseason. He might look like a rookie if he plays Baltimore. There are going to be times where he looks like a rookie. And if we hype him up like this, to the point where people aren't even thinking about the fact that he's a rookie, then when he has those moments, people are just going to say, oh, that's an excuse, and then not give the dude any time to get better, and then, kind of just throw him away. We got to be more normal about this, because everything I'm seeing, and look, you call me alarmist or whatever it is, but, check me in a year and see if I'm still being alarmist. Everything that I see people doing are setting this dude up to just be overly criticized or overly praised in response to anything that he does. And that's not a healthy dynamic, right? If you actually care about Shedeur, you should not be out here hyping up OTA team drills. You should just let the process go on, let him develop, understand that, for every OTAs that he kills, he might have a bad practice here or there. It's not going to be a big deal. But here's the thing. If you say OTAs, like if Shedeur struggles in OTAs and you say it's not a big deal, well, then you can't really say that if you're one of these people posting this shit, right? If you're posting this, what you're also saying is you're giving people permission to judge Shedeur's career based off of OTA practices. You're like, in your excitement, right? Oh, Shedeur had 3 touchdowns and 7 attempts and 9. Oh my God, he's so good. What you're saying there is that, oh yeah, these OTA drills, you have set the precedent that they matter. That's what you did when you actually get excited about stuff like this. This is why I'm not going to get excited about anything like this. Because if Shedeur has a 3 interception, 2 completion day, you know what I'm going to sit on here and say? I don't care. It's OTAs. It doesn't matter. But I can't say that if I'm sitting here acting like this shit right here matters. You see what the problem is, right? And some people are going to run into that problem pretty soon, right? Because if he has a bad practice, he gets against the ones, he throws 3 interceptions, people are going to be on his ass. And the reason people are going to be on his ass is because when you praise shit like this, you give people permission to act the ass over OTA team drills. Like, call me whatever you want to call me. I'm just trying to tell you, this shit ain't going to be good for nobody. Like, hyper-focusing on OTA drills like this ain't going to be good for anybody. This ain't going to give you no real insight. This is nonsense. Was what it is. But if we treat this nonsense like it's serious, the only people who are going to be hurt are the young players that you're trying to give a chance to. I understand people in Cleveland are desperate. I understand that people are super excited about Shedeur Sanders, but please stop and think about what you're actually doing and what the consequence can be for somebody who wants to do the same thing you're doing right here with these numbers, but in bad faith. Like, just stop and think for a second. What kind of can of worms you're opening up before you open up the damn can of worms? Because what I am seeing here is a can of worms being opened up on Shedeur Sanders that cannot be closed. And once open, it's going to lead to a lot of the most ridiculous stuff that you've ever seen. And look, you can call me alarmist. I've seen stuff like this lead to stuff that I'm talking about happening. I've watched it. I know how these dynamics play out. Colin Cowherd knows how these dynamics play out. And if Shedeur Sanders isn't successful, you best believe Colin Cowherd going to be out here talking about, well, he just didn't have the stuff. And I think NFL GMs understood that, right? Like, this is going to be what Colin Cowherd's going to do. This is ridiculous. And it's not good for whoever you think it's good for. This is ridiculous. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.